Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another production meeting. And look at this. It is second week in a row. It is 2 week streak. I'm excited. Are you guys
Somebody
excited for
pinch me.
this?
I must be dreaming.
Yay.
He's threatened our families if we don't do this.
I have. Oh, I wasn't supposed to admit that. But yeah. Anyway, how are you guys doing? I love talking to
Doing,
this, even though we don't talk like off air.
I know, right? Um, I'm pretty cool. We're all we were talking about how all of us are getting older off camera. So,
Oh yeah,
getting older,
super
but
old.
otherwise, um,
Nirvana's not classic rock.
The other day, I
yes.
considered watching Horizon and American Saga Part One. That's how old I've gotten.
Oh well, come on. That one I told you guys a lot. I'm pretty sure I told you during the video that that actually is not bad because oh no, yeah, that was in my honorable mentions from last year. It's not it's not bad. It suffers from its own runtime and its nicheness, but it's actually not terrible. I'd say
I
give
should
that
have said
about
I should have
seven.
said here with Tom Hanks. That would have landed better.
Oh yeah. That's way more accurate because that will make you feel old. Yeah,
Yeah.
because did you both see that? I think you
No.
both saw
No.
that. Did you? Neither of you guys saw that? I watched that, and
What do we look like? Someone who can see movies for free?
I wish
well,
I
you do.
could. I wish I could
No,
all the
so I
time.
I remember I watched that and I was like, okay, the premise is interesting because I was told that it's all from one like not even just one like camera. It is from like as if like you're a picture frame in this one isolated spot this entire time. That's
Who
that was interesting. It was okay.
who wants to sit for 90 minutes and watch a static camera view that's picture frame quality, other than our watchers, right?
It
Our
yeah
overlords.
right.
Don't worry, I
Um,
was just segueing into a joke.
y- I agree with you going into it. And yeah, I mean, it helps that I saw it for free for sure. But it helps me recommend it. I was like, that's it's not it it's paced well and it could have been a lot more boring. The thing I had the most issue with is similar to the whole de-aging Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones is they're de-aging Tom Hanks and like he looks younger. He does definitely look younger. They did a good job on that, but he still sounds like old Tom Hanks, where he's like guttural, like oh, and he's like his girlfriend gets pregnant, when he's like super young in high school. He's like, yeah, Claire's pregnant, because Tom Hanks like does this thing where he can only like talks out of one side of his mouth now, and it just I'm like, he doesn't sound like a high schooler. He sounds like he's got chewing tobacco and I was like, that was the one thing about otherwise, I'm like, it's not an awful movie. It's not a super memorable one, I'll give you that. But it's not like completely like I'm offended that I spent time watching this. Yeah, I mean, I would I will say this. My viewing of seeing it in a theater probably wouldn't have been different if I just watch it whenever it comes to streaming. I will say that. That's probably not one that you need to watch in a theater. No. So, but the movie itself is okay. Um, but more recently, let's talk about what we've been doing. Since last video, I watched, and you guys, I had already mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. I watched Paddington. Yay me! Yay, and it's very cute. It's a
It is
little
very
bear,
cute.
just wants a home. Yeah, I know. And I did not know that Nicole Kidman was in it, so I was like, that's crazy. Um, Liked it. It wasn't the greatest thing, but very cute.
Excuse me?
Wasn't the greatest thing. I'm
The first
expect.
one, the first one is cute.
It's
It's
cute.
the
It's
second
very
one
cute.
that's like Citizen Kane good.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
true.
waiting for that. And if it's
That's a
not good, I'm
99%.
yeah, I'm gonna say if it doesn't hold up to that, that's when I'm just like
We're
I
gonna say
come
you're
back next
wrong.
video. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna come back next video and be like, so Paddington, and then I just duck as you guys throw stuff at me virtually.
Bro.
Um, yeah, right. No, I don't expect that. I expect to think it's very cute and very good. So I did that, and then I think I mentioned that I was playing Pandora. No, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. and I have since stopped doing that because that game, while looking very good and fun to like traverse through its world, the story is very, very, very dull, and I couldn't really just do any more with that. And the way they do like leveling up and stuff is just kind of very weird. Not to say that it's a bad game. I'm just gonna say not for me. And then I started playing Stellar Blade, which came out in April of last year, I believe. And that is a good game. Very kind of weird looking, but once you get past like the weirdness of its world, it's a pretty standard, like go and find this, level up kind of stuff. So yeah, I like that. And I don't think watched a little bit of Castlevania with Ashley, just a little bit. That looks thoroughly good. I'll probably start jumping into that. Probably get my brother into that because he definitely likes Castlevania. And then, I mean, it's an anime too, so that's a plus. Very clean, very crisp, very good voice acting in that. It's like very well done. I can already tell, and I'm like, and it's like graphic, like you probably would expect it to be. So I'm like, they didn't really hold back. So that looks really, really cool. Really cool. I think that's all I've done other than our review for the day. What have you guys done?
Brian, go ahead.
I have exactly one movie that I've watched that's relevant to today. I watched the movie A Real Pain with Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg. That came out
Hey, oh,
what, like last
I
month?
wanted, no, I wanted to watch that on Hulu because it dropped on Hulu on the
It is on
16th.
Hulu. It was good.
Yeah. Is it?
Uh,
Okay.
Good movie, good performances. I I don't have anything over enthusiastic to say about it, but I thought it was good.
Cool.
It might be the shortest review I've ever had. I also finished all of Skeleton Crew, but I wasn't sure, Clint, if you had watched that, so uh, I was maybe going to talk about it, but good news in space. So
Apparently, that's also a Jesse Eisenberg direction too. I don't know if you just said that, but that's
yeah,
crazy.
real pain.
A
Yeah,
Real
he's
Pain,
pretty
yes.
much yeah.
Hmm.
So very, very Eisenberg heavy. So
So let's crew. I'm on episode 5. I should
okay.
probably finish that.
Well, when you finish it, we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, definitely. Um, was that it? Sorry.
That's it for new movies. I have my random movie of the week if we wanted
Okay.
to get into it.
Yeah.
Really, just because I thought of Alex the whole time while I was watching it.
Which
Way to,
was
I need to name this segment, but anyway. So I did this a couple times a while ago. Sorry, my leg got really itchy. Uh, and I have like just so many random obscure movies. So I watched this movie called Assassination from South Korea. This is South Korean Inglourious Bastards and Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I was gonna say
Okay.
that's why I thought of me.
Yeah, it's genuinely like a group of freedom fighters fighting like the Japanese government in South Korea in World War II.
Huh.
I thought it was awesome. It's streaming on Freevee as well as 5 other channels, but I figured if it was on Freevee, it's probably easy to find. It's on Prime as well, Tubi, things like that. I didn't know the director from a whole lot of things, but it does have Lee Jung Jae from Squid Game and The Acolyte, who's very good in it. Apparently, I think he's a pretty big actor, but I'm still getting kind of familiar with South Korean cinema. Anyway, really enjoyed it. It's tonally a little less fun than those other two. I mean, Glorious Bastards definitely gets less fun in places, but I very much enjoyed it. I think the thing that helped me enjoy it the most was actually the idea of triple featuring these 3 movies at one point and watching 3 different areas of the world all fighting like in World War II without it being a war movie.
Is it
Uh,
supposed to be a satire or is it like a full on like
it's pretty grounded. It's pretty grounded, and it's
okay.
based on a true story. It probably follows the story from what I've read about as well. I think it's very loosely based on a true story. So
Oh yeah, I mean like
I
the
would
others
say
are too.
it's somewhere probably around gentlemanly warfare from what I read. I think it's probably scrambled together events more so
Hmm.
than anything else. But it takes you to a couple different locations. You don't really see I mean, there's a couple movies set in like, Japanese occupied China, and you don't see movies in like Manchuria very much. That general vicinity. It's like nothing happened there. And this movie's like, hey, here's one that's going on. I enjoy the perspective. That was interesting. Very very fun watch. I see now that I haven't actually rated it, but I'd say a solid 7 out of 10. I could probably go higher should I actually triple feature it with those other two movies. Then I could definitely. Oh, it's because I'm not signed in. Silly IMDb.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in the on the back burner. This looks
the
interesting.
queue. Yes, and it's on Prime.
it is. Yep. And of
Yes.
course, knowing my suggestions, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes in another language. Drink
I
coffee accordingly.
I was gonna ask, but as I've dug through, I'm seeing, what is it? Languages: Korean, Japanese, Mandarin. I was like, okay, so
Yeah.
this is subtitled.
But
This is
it's not
fine.
slow. We sat down and, with the exception of a quick snack break, which we just wanted to because we were hungry, watched the whole thing. No problems.
Well,
Really
in your
enjoyable.
defense, Clint, I mean, and I'm pretty sure you would recommended this at some point too. I watched The Raid finally,
Oh, did you?
and that was, yeah, I told you that. Yeah,
Did you?
yeah. I was like, I think that was before, like, I think that was actually last summer. It was a while ago. I'll have to dig back through our text messages and see when,
Hmm.
but I watched that, and yeah, it was actually fairly good. I I actually really liked it. The first one. I didn't watch the second one. I started to, and then I guess something came up that day and then I just never went back to it. But the rate, though you have to, constantly read and for the subtitles, I'm like, it's a solid movie, very well paced, and it's like it's literally like John Wick, but foreign. So
Yeah.
I'm like, this
Or
is
Dread
this,
with no guns.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put this somewhere to be watched later list. Huh.
All right.
Eh,
Um,
2015. Okay.
so I binged through Man on the Inside with Ted Danson, with the creator by Michael Schur, who did co-created Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place, the other Kristen
Yeah.
Bell.
Mhm.
Man on the Inside is very good. It is a quick, kind of feel-goody kind of comedy. It is very much about how we kind of want to feel useful and want to kind of help other people. And so it's a very kind of kind-hearted comedy. It's not like a raunchy type of thing. It is very much watch with your family if you can type of show. I think there's like 8 half-hour episodes, I want to say. I mean, it was really quick. Yes.
Is this what's the one? Is there another Ted Danson show? I think that has who's the late from Misery? Um,
Kathy Bates.
Okay.
yeah, are they in a show together? Because that's what I thought
Uh,
this was. Okay, I'm
no.
sorry. I just that's what I thought this was.
So this show is weirdly kind of very loosely based on a Spanish documentary that some old guy kind of like, I don't know if I haven't seen the documentary, but he's like helping out to find out how like somebody's stolen something. So the TV show Manning the Inside is about Ted Danson. He goes in, like he kind of gets hired as this private detective or helper of this private investigator because somebody has stolen a necklace. And so he's kind of sent in there as this older guy to kind of like check out like who stole this stuff. Now the documentary is about an old guy that checks into an old person, like a retirement community, because he feels like they're getting mistreated. So it's kind of a lighthearted kind of documentary. I don't know if it's a lighthearted one, but the posters seem to be lighthearted. But this is very loosely based on that. So there is another season coming. Like I said, it's like 30-minute episode, 30-minute episodes. It's really quick. Like I watched it in an afternoon. So I also binged Nobody Wants This with Kristen Bell and Adrian Brody. My min review is up too. Their chemistry was really good. Like I just watched it just for that. The story is pretty weak, but if you're watching like a rom-com with two good leads, then I would watch Nobody Wants This. It was very good. Severance came on, so I watched the first episode of Severance season two. I had to watch like a whole recap of this because like it hasn't been on for like a couple years. But it's a very good show. If you haven't watched Severance, it's on Apple Plus. That is a very good show by Ben Stiller. Harley Quinn season five started, so I started watching that. And Castlevania Nocturne season two I started was on Netflix. And Day of the Jackal, which is very good actually. Um I liked the 1997 Richard Gere Bruce Willis movie that is loosely based on the book. This I think is a little bit closer to the book. I didn't know how I was going to feel about Eddie Redmayne as a villain, but they kind of humanize him, so it's a little bit better. Um, and the pacing is actually very is done very well considering it's a 10 episode hour long 10 episodes, so 10-hour series. So the pacing's
Yeah,
done
I'd
really
heard that
well.
that was really solid.
Yeah, it's probably like the best thing on Peacock to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Um, I had high hopes for the Continental. Um, but with the pacing of that, there was like
Oh.
3 hour-and-a-half episodes. Um, but the pacing of them was just really jarring. Um, the action was decent. It was very John Wick like, but anyway. But that's what I've been watching. So let's jump into the news because we actually have some news that we can go over. So we could go over this kind of not really quickly, but there are some trailers that we're going to go over and some sad news at the end that we always save for the end. So let's start this off with some Marvel news. Doctor Strange is not going to be in Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, but will be a central part of Secret Wars. Apparently, Benedict Cumberbatch was not supposed to say that to Variety, but he said, and said it anyway. What do we think? Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess we'll
I mean,
see why,
yeah.
but
yeah.
I mean,
I
it
did
sounds
also.
like
I
The Secret Wars come out next year?
no. So Avengers Doomsday will come out next year.
Oh, that's what's
And
next
then
year. Okay.
Secret Wars will be in 2027, 2028. I don't know. They keep pushing these back anyway. Batman was
currently
supposed to be out this
2027.
year. Is it? Okay.
Maybe call
Um,
me old fashioned, but I'm like, why don't we see where our next step lands us? And then we just go to the next step.
But the timeline photo at cons.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I say con, like the festival. Comic Cons. You gotta have the big timeline thing. Gotta get people excited about a big line that goes through a bunch of icons of movies that'll change.
Well, here's the
yeah,
counter thing
Alex.
about that. I
You know,
we're
you're
in
right.
such
I agree.
we're in such a day and age where we have so much like in advance told us about. Like, I mean, this is why we're all getting frustrated about the whole Batman, getting delayed thing because why would they have even told us about it at all? Like, just yes, we know it's being made because it left kind of cliffhanger-ish. I mean, you just know it's coming. So, but why say anything like, "Oh, it's coming 2020 whatever," because we don't know at this point. Yes, it's to get excited, but there is kind of a thing about getting excited about learning something as it's about to come out or very near, very, very near, like uncharacteristically, like in this time that we are in now, excited. Um, okay, for example, you guys, I know Clint knows this. Ryan may or may not know. I love Kingdom Hearts. Um, and number three
Done.
came out a bajillion years after the rest of them. And we were all super excited for it. And we just kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting. Well, once it started to set in that this movie's actually going to come out, or this game is going to come out, like in the near future, within a year or so, we started getting more and more details. And then, like, okay, this is going to be in it. This is going to be in it. This is going to be in it. Okay, great, 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 great. And then when the game actually comes out, you already know about all that stuff. You just don't know the like full meat of the story. And I'll be the first to admit that yes, Kingdom Hearts is a disappointing game. Like, is it a bad game? No. Is it near what we expected it? No. And so we had all this shown to us pre-hand, and it took the fun out of like finding out near the time of the game. Now, granted, we are in a time where it's social media is just in our face all the time, literally. So it's hard to avoid the spoilers. And so, but at the same time, I'm like, Disney, you might want to just think about until it comes out right then. I know they have a bunch of projects that they need to just have because it's a big company. I get all that, but I'm like, I'm just giving a just general average Joe's perspective on all of it. Maybe don't like see where you step and then just worry about the next couple of projects. Who says you're going to lose, $500 million or whatever because you didn't tell us, Disney movie J, whatever, that's scheduled 10 years from now isn't like announced 10 years in advance. I I'm getting to like why do we need to know about, several years down the line where we don't even know how this is going to land? Because, I mean, we've already moved around details with the whole like Jonathan Majors thing. Now, granted, that's not the same exact thing because he messed up. But I'm like, there's so many moving parts and so many things that can change. Don't announce everything that far in advance. Just see, and like Secret Wars, we don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen because we don't know what's going to happen here. So what's the point of it? That I mean, I didn't expect to go all rantish like that, but I'm just like, I hope y'all see my point. I get it. We want to know in
Oh,
advance, but at the same time, it's just like give us a little bit of like, oh, wow, that's a surprise. Oh, that's this summer. Wow, that's crazy. So I know we don't live in that time anymore, but it's just like I think that's maybe something that should be thought of. Maybe not. Maybe don't say that summer. Maybe a year from now it's coming out.
well, I think I see your point. It just kind of this went a little bit farther than I thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
But I see your point, Alex, and I respect your point, but I think it's a bigger issue than just like the production companies or the distribution companies actually saying like what's coming. Obviously, like they want to have a slate for what's coming, and it's not only that, it's mainly for the fans. And it's like, hey, this is what we're planning on doing, and they want to keep the fans because yes, it would be like it'd be a lot easier if they didn't tell us what was coming, but then again, you'd have a lot of people kind of like it's clickbait, people speculating on like what is coming and where they can go next and whatever else like that. And do I miss the early days of Marvel where they're like, this could work? And then they throw it up there and they're like, yay, let's eat all this up. And now people, because it's so popular, they want to see the whole slate so they can get ready for, you know, see what comic book lines are going to come in. Because like Secret Wars is actually like a six-part series. So it's like a thing. It's a whole thing. And it's a whole main event. And that's why it's an Avengers movie. um, things like that. But I think that that's another reason why I kind of respect James Gunn right now with DC, is because he's not doing that. Him and Peter Safran have literally said at one of these Comic Cons that they are not going to like speculate when these movies are coming because you're expecting the Batman Part Two is like a different beast because it's officially not a part of what James Gunn and this DCU is supposed to be. So it's like on this separate thing. So like you said, with the popularity and it being getting a sequel and everything, yeah, they have to have like a certain date, and then fans get excited. And like you said, then we get disappointed because it's pushed back for another year because of X, Y, and Z. Well, James Gunn has come out and said like, yes, these are the certain projects that are going to be a part of this first phase that he's got, but he hasn't attached any like release dates to any of them, except for Supergirl. Supergirl is supposed
Yeah.
to come out next year in like June, I think. And so he's like, this is when Supergirl's going to come out. But there's like a couple of things that they have said that was in pre-production, like The Brave and the Bold, which is a Batman movie, but they haven't really given it any type of like official date because they haven't gotten the script or anything right yet. So I respect James Gunn for that, but I think with Disney and Marvel, it's just like this is what's coming because it gets fans excited, it gets people to click on stuff, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's just an emotional roller coaster that they're trying
Yeah,
to get people to get on. So I get it, and it's just me speaking as like just a little
right.
guy, not near, not even close to even the same universe as like knowing how Disney operates. But I'm just like, this is just my 2 cents on a almost 33-year-old
Right.
man.
But I see your point because it's like when I view it from that side of it, like I'm very disappointed that they haven't done Blade yet. And that's gotten pushed back and then shelved and everything else because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like when they announced it, they were like, this is going to be exciting. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be exciting. It's Blade. And then they were just like, well, we got our star. Okay. And then X, Y, and Z directors quit and this screenwriter quit and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, let's get this. Like, just stop. If you're going to make it,
Yeah.
then make it. If not, then just like take it off your list or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the state of just Marvel as an encompass.
Right.
Like the last what are we talking about? Last 4 years, five
Yeah.
years, ever since.
Right.
Now, granted, No Way Home. I remember watching No Way Home like probably three different times, including the re-release. That was like what an extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. And I'm like, that movie is consistently good. Granted, is the whole time and universe like travel thing kind of like obviously does that make complete sense? No, but I'm like, if you just don't like harp on it too much, it's fun.
Right.
And so, but everything else, other than like say Shang-Chi and something else, it's just like it's all just muck, 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 muck. We're just like
Right.
we're so focused on like that far down that we're not like really concentrating on this. But I mean, that again, that's just me putting it simplistically.
Right.
So I know we went really, really far with that one. That just was
Yeah.
like I think it was more like a long time coming just for saying that. It's just kind of like we're just kind of tired of, and I want like Captain America to do real. I want it to do well. Like I hope this is gonna surprise us. I mean, do I expect it? No, but do I hope? Sure, sure. Maybe because we didn't. All of us didn't expect the Marvels to be actually pretty fun. We all thought oh, just another Marvel movie, blah blah blah. It probably doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, okay, all these women in here, they really kick butt. It's actually is a fun movie. So it's really, hopefully it does something like that. So, but as far as like Doctor Strange being in it, I mean, sure. I mean, we don't know how it's going to affect this because we don't know anything about this. So it's like,
Right.
okay, cool. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yay. Okay. Moving on. So Robert Eggers has another movie coming out in Christmas in 2026. Another horror movie. Werewolf. Werewolf. I
I
think that's
know
probably
where
something that's
like the German way of spelling it, I guess.
yes. I don't know why Robert Eggers hates Christmas, but whatever.
I'm all for it because he's got a good
Yes,
track record with me.
he does. He's a very good track record all around. So I'm excited for that. Um, Next up, some Star Wars news. Ryan Gosling is in talks for Sean Levy's Star Wars movie. The Gauze is coming to Star Wars. I like that. What
You
do
know
you guys
what,
think?
Okay.
though? If these studios could stop announcing all these movies so early, I feel like there's a whole tirade to be made about.
Yeah, yeah,
I've been
yeah.
just waiting for that for you to talk about this.
No, see,
Yes.
yeah. Go ahead, Clint. I mean, I want to genuinely know what you guys think. Like Ryan Gosling, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like on the fence. I don't think it's bad, but I don't know if it'll bring anything to the table. What do you guys think?
He's a good actor.
I I think the story needs to be good. I think that's the one thing that's lacking in Star Wars right now is stories that are told that are good. Um,
Now, do we know? I think we do. When is the upcoming trilogy of movies take place? Do we know that?
Previous Alex, see your previous conversation or your previous tirade.
Yeah.
against release dates and the knowledge we have
Well,
about movies.
Um,
yeah, right.
when is it? Did you say when the next trilogy is coming?
No, no, no. Like when does what does it like what time does it take place in the Star Wars universe? Like, is it the Old Republic era? You know, is it
So,
after?
so there's some conflicting reports. So I know that Daisy Ridley's new movie is set after Episode 9.
Mhm.
Um, Levy's movie, I have no idea when it's set. I don't think there's actually anything that's besides this is the last thing I heard about this movie was is that Sean Levy was writing and directing a new Star Wars movie. That was it.
Hmm.
Um,
All he
I
says is, I really want to craft something that felt organic to me, both in tone and characters, so that I think there is uh, certainly a force and a connection to something bigger than our individual selves, and the way that can make us powerful. Those themes combined with visual delight and wish fulfillment. That's Star Wars to me. Uh, so yeah,
um
Kudos.
I thought that I read that there was going to be 10, 11, and 12, like episodes 10, 11, and 12. I also heard that Taika Waititi was making a Star Wars movie. Uh,
not after next goal wins,
Probably
probably.
not. I heard that what's her face? Patty Jenkins, her movie was back on the table because she's not doing Wonder Woman 3 anymore. So they were like, okay, you can have your movie back. Um, and I could have sworn that like either Kevin Feige was thinking about producing a Star Wars movie. I don't know.
Mhm.
I my little tyrant about this is with Star Wars in general is that one, I think fans need to get over themselves. I'm sorry. I think there's a lot of stuff that they're doing that we need to look at freshly and watch and look at each individual project as it's each individual project and not try and compare it to the whole 77 to 83 Star Wars. Star Wars is evolving, and as much as like we may cherish as Star Wars fans, including myself, cherish those first three movies, we have to understand that because yes, it was sold way back in 2012, we got
Yeah,
to move
something like
on.
that.
We got to move on. Like Disney's taking over. Disney hasn't ruined Star Wars. I think that them trying to push it out so much is ruining Star Wars. And I think that they do need to adapt that James Gunn type of thing where they're gonna like, look, this is what we're gonna do and take their time with it. But I do think that there needs to be a Star Wars movie on the big screen pretty soon because
Yeah.
there's a lot of TV, yes, but who's to say that like Skeleton Crew, like we were just talking about, couldn't have done well on the big screen because that was
Yeah,
directed
because
like
we're
the first couple episodes were
uh
directed by John Watts, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
think you're right on that.
It's
I
so
know
short
David
you could
Lowery
trim it
did
up.
one too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just tighten it up and put it in theaters. 2.5 hours.
right, right.
Hmm.
And I think David Lowery did one too. So like there's like even the Alkalite, like if you did this a little bit differently, they probably could have put that on the big screen. But I don't know. That's my tirade about Star Wars. So
All right,
moving
and then
on,
Ryan will have yours about
probably
I
somewhere
don't know, Avatar
somewhere
or
in here.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sonic 4 has this premiere date. Speaking of premiere dates, 2027. Um, yay, if it stays there. Because like Ice Age 6 is delayed. Didn't know that was a thing until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think we talked about it like, gosh, it
I
came up.
swear that was. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, no. It was I think we either talked about it for a brief second on way back, or I recently shared it again, and I said the same thing that Strabel said that uh there's a sixth one. I was like, I had to go back and I was like, okay, I've heard of that one. I've heard of that one. Never know that that one existed, and I don't know that. I know I've never seen anyone other than the very original one, and that's
Yeah.
all
I
probably
think I
people
only seen
need.
the first two. That's all you need.
I stopped at four
Wow.
because Peter
Stop it.
Dinklage is a singing pirate in the fourth one. And I was like, yeah. Um,
Ryan, you just
uh,
have to do one more and then you've completed the set.
I can't. I can't. I can't do five until
I don't
six
even
comes
think
out,
Ray
maybe.
Romano can do.
He wasn't in five, I don't think. Somebody, no, there's a couple people who weren't in five. No, I swear it was, I swear they officially announced six in the exact same thing. Because I remember we were like, oh, they're going to make more Ice Age movies. And I was like, cool. And I swear they were like, oh, we forgot to say officially Ice Age 6. Hey, Ice Age 6 is delayed. Like that was their announcement and their delay announcement at the same time.
Yay.
Silly movies.
This one I may
Along
have like
with,
a little, yeah. I may have a little tirade about this. Goonies 2 and Gremlins 3 is in early development. No, I'm sorry.
I'm up for Gremlins 3.
So Clint, I'm just gonna say one thing. It's very similar to this idea anyway of the whole Beverly Hills Cop thing. If I'm not mistaken, it's very similar because it's 80s and it's like probably should have just stuck with those and like it's too far
Right.
removed from its time. Okay, that's all I'll say. Your thought.
Well, I don't know. Like I couldn't verbalize it on our website or on our Facebook page. But it's just like the Goonies, like in the early 80s, that's how kids were in the early 80s. Like you kind of gave with your friends and you went on an adventure and you did your thing and whatever, and you ran into some stuff and you don't tell your parents because your parents are working or whatever. And it just like that, I think that that movie works in the 80s. I don't think Goonies works now because there's too much technology, there's too much like kind of stuff. Like I don't know. It's just like because like Goonies is just a very simplistic movie where a bunch of kids get together and they're looking for treasure or something, or the treasure ship or whatever. I just don't think that you can do that now. It's it
And if you said it in the
I
80s, it's a Stranger Things.
yeah. Now if you said like if you I okay, so if you said it in the 80s, then I think it would work. But from my understanding, I think this is supposed to be like the original like all the original cast. Um
It's like it, chapter two. The ship is back to
yeah.
haunt them.
Yeah.
That's what happens in
Yeah,
Goonies, I'm
but
sure. Just kidding.
but
Right.
Chunk isn't even Chunk anymore. He's not even an actor. He's a lawyer, I think.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
No,
isn't one of the like isn't Corey Feldman not even working anymore either?
yeah, like yeah, I don't know. I
Pee
have
Wei
no
Kwan just
idea.
came back. So
Oh,
So
that's why.
that's literally I was going to ask you guys. I think it might have something to do with his resurgence in the film industry now that he's done really well. He did what Everything Everywhere, and then he has this movie upcoming called Love Hurts. So I don't know.
and he
Maybe
was
they're
in
just
Loki
trying to
season
catch a
two.
wave, and he was Loki season two.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just trying to catch a wave, which I don't know. I don't know that's it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Um, go ahead,
And
Ryan.
Gremlins. See,
Oh yeah.
I like Gremlins 2 doesn't need to happen, but it's also not, I don't think, as bad as people give it crap for. Like, it's just
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And that approach is aged, I think, surprisingly well.
Hmm.
And if they just go into it with, yeah, Gremlins, but now we're here in modern times, just do it. Just say whatever. I think that's the only
Yeah.
thing they can do is just have fun with it. Go nuts. Who cares? A big gremlin. We'll do a really big gremlin monster this time.
Well,
Well,
see,
see, here's
I
go
agree
ahead,
with you,
Clint.
Ryan. Is that I think that Gremlins can work anytime because it's literally the same. It's a simple premise about that you don't get Gizmo wet,
Yeah.
and this is what happens, or you don't feed him after what midnight or something like that. There's like a few
Hmm.
rules that you can't do with these Mogwai or whatever they're called. Um, but yeah, like the Goonies is just like it's the premise of it is just it's for the 80s and it was made in the 80s. And like you said, Ryan, it's like Stranger Things. Like if you wanted to set this movie back in the 80s, then I think it would work. But like with Gremlins, you're right. Like I think it's just like even the original movie, isn't it like passed down to like his like he buys it at like a shop or something, right?
Yeah.
It's been a
His
while.
dad
So
buys it for him at a shop and
yeah,
is like, I want it because I have this toothpaste device. Like, and I'm jealous of other people's achievements, kind of thing. I'm
right.
reading way too much into the dad's character in Gremlins the more I watch it. So I may be projecting.
I think this would be a good don't don't make it Gremlins 3. Maybe just make it a complete remake. Just like because I
Gremlins, but the three is the E. Studios should pay me because
They
that's what
should.
they're gonna do.
They should.
Because it's a remake, but the
oh
third one,
Right.
I'll take my
I
check.
mean but I mean if they can make things like because there's another movie that's sort of similar in that it has a cute little creature that who knows what it could, be. What's it
Ochi,
called? Lit
Legend of Ochi.
Ochi. Yep, yep, exactly. So I'm like, if that can come out and maybe be successful, we won't know, and for another few weeks until it comes out and we all, review it. But if they can make something like that and nobody's really batting an eye, I'm like, Gremlins could do probably fine. I don't. Yeah, like Clint was saying. I mean, I think he's right on the money. Goonies, like you said, that's how kids acted that in that time frame. Whereas Gremlins, you could probably put that in any kind of form because it's an alien and all this stuff, and it just kind of can act the way it wants based on how they write it. So it's just like it doesn't really matter the exact time. You can just put that setting anywhere. So that would be
It's
more successful than
scary.
Goonies. Yeah, it's scary. Oh yeah, and they could probably make it way scarier. Probably not because if they want to
Gremlins
keep
is
it kid
scary.
friendly.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, moving on. So we have a few trailers. Hopefully, you guys, three trailers, if you guys seen these or not. The monkey trailer was released. It's terrifying. Not really terrifying, but
Hmm.
it is. I did like it. I kind of.
Creepy.
It is creepy. I like Theo James. He's on a little resurgence right now. The Until Dawn trailer. I told Alex as soon as we as soon as we watched this trailer, I was like, nope. Strictly because I probably will watch this movie, but strictly because there is a line of dialogue, a couple lines of dialogue in this movie
I
where
know what you're gonna say.
she points the phone at some random guy and was like, "Have you seen my sister?" And he goes, "Is she missing?" And she says, "That's not what I said." Isn't that what we do now? Like, don't we show people like pictures of people and be like, "Have you seen this person?" for no other reason but to go, "I'm looking for them." Like, I'm not gonna show you a random picture. Hey, have you seen this person? Think she's cute? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just I couldn't with that.
Yeah. To his point, it's like, yeah, it's exactly. Have you seen this person? Are you looking for them? Oh no, I'm just wondering to know if
I'm
you have
wondering.
you have you
Like,
seen
yeah,
this person because it's really cool. It's my like cousin.
yeah.
It's one of two
Shh.
things. Only two things writes dialogue like that now. AI and M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh,
Oh man.
Mr. Shalaman, don't sue us. Um,
I
it
like
was an okay.
Strap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, it was an okay trailer. And Daredevil Born Again. This I'm excited for, as we all know. So yeah. That was a good trailer.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have some sad news. Mr. David Lynch had passed away. He did Twin Peaks and other types of movies. Um, I completely like just froze on his movies.
Blue Velvet, Mulholland
Blue
Drive.
Velvet, yes. Eraserhead. Mulholland Drive was a very
Yeah.
good movie. It's a weird movie.
Eraserhead, I forgot that one.
Yeah, Eraserhead. And the original Dune, 1984 Dune.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
rip Mr. Lynch. Okay. You guys have any other news that we can get through quickly, or can we dive straight into
Mm-mm.
Other
our
than,
review?
I know we don't. we don't talk about like the box office very much, which is totally fine. But like, what a close match between Lion King and uh, One of Those Days, which like we didn't even know that movie was going to do well, so we didn't even get it. And boy, were we dumb for not getting it.
Yeah,
Uh,
one of them days was done. I mean,
One of
it's
them days, yeah,
January. Yeah, it's just whatever. It's done okay.
yeah.
Probably a little bit
Kicked
better than I expected.
kicked our movie of the night down to third place worldwide opening, so or domestic opening.
Hmm.
Kiki Palmer?
Yes.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Who knew? It's just one of those days, I guess.
Apparently, we're talking about the wrong movie, according
Yeah,
Apparently.
to
right.
$18 million worth of people or something like that.
Wow, really?
Ours
How
made
much
like
is,
10,
wow. I
10.5,
can,
something
well,
like that.
I can see why.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
Previewing our views on this movie. Okay, so let's jump into our movie. So this week we did Wolfman, directed by Leigh Whannell, who did The Invisible Man in 2020 and wrote the screenplay for Saw, a couple of the Saws, I believe. Um, so Wolfman is about a guy who is takes his family back to his Oregon home because his father has been missing for a few weeks and is pronounced dead, and so he decides to go up there with his family to box up his father's stuff and do something with it because it doesn't really go into that in the movie. And then strange things happen when he gets attacked by something in the woods. So I'm going to jump in here, and I've had some time for this to kind of like percolate and stuff, and I'm because we've seen this last Friday, right, Alex?
Yes. Hmm.
Yes, so it was
when I
Friday.
saw it too,
Um, I'm sticking with the seven. Sticking with the seven, there are some. This movie does have some issues. Um, it's just like I don't know. There's like a certain scene that Alex and I talked about. We talked about this last. There is a certain scene. There's no real spoilers for this scene, but it is kind of a setup scene where he kind of like he's talking to his wife, who's Julia Gardner, and he asks her if they're happy together, and she says yes, and he says that this is a perfect time to go up to Oregon so that they can get away because she's a journalist in San Francisco and he's a writer and he's between jobs or whatever. And they go up there and it's just like the scene to me was kind of worthless. And I think that they needed to cut that whole scene out and just get them on the road. And they could have taken bits and pieces of this scene because it just basically is like a setup scene for them to go up to Oregon to convince, for the main character, to convince Julia Garner to go up to Oregon, to take some time off from her busy job as a journalist at the San Francisco Chronicle, I think it was, and to get her on the road, to get her up to Oregon, to set up to hold the rest of the movie. Um, it's like a 5 minute scene. Yes, I know it's just 5 minutes, but it's just a 5 minute scene that they could have taken like bits and pieces of that dialogue and put it in like the scene before. Because the scene before is like where they're interacting with each other and he gets the phone call or like the mail that says that like his father's been pronounced dead by the Oregon police because they haven't been able to find him or whatever. And I think that all like that whole scene could have been combined. Like both of those scenes could have been combined, not only to save time, because there was a point in the movie where I'm just like, okay, like I think we need to start to wrap this up now, because we're just dragging this out, dragging out the inevitable, basically. And I think that the scene could have been like put together, and I think it would have flowed a little bit better because that scene just kind of like there's no real reference back to that scene either. Like he asks if they're happy together, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But there's no real context to why the question was asked. So I think they could have done without that scene. Secondly, like the Thor port, the middle was fine. It does drag a little bit. And I think the Wolfman effects were done pretty well. I did like the reversal in perspective when it comes to the Wolfman and what he sees and what he hears and stuff like that. I thought that was done really cool. The effects they were done well, but I think that they needed to be more wolf. man-y instead of like prehistoric Neanderthal man. That was a little weird. Um, and I think that it was just like the ending was just a little too convenient for me. And I think that we'll get into that in spoilers, but like the ending, the last, like the conclusion and the climax of the movie was just kind of like, okay, this is where we ended up at. But I'm going to stay with a solid seven. I think Julia Garner does a very good job. I think that she's a very good actress, and I really like the child actor was does really good as well. I can't remember what her name was, but
Matilda Firth.
that's right.
Yeah, her character's name is Ginger.
Ginger, yes. And Matilda does do a very good job. Um, the guy is okay, but like you don't really,
Christopher Abbott of Craven the Hunter fame, and probably
yes,
much better things.
probably.
Mhm.
Um, but you don't really get like a sense like of him though. Like you know what I mean? Like he's not really like he's moaning half the movie. So, but he does a good job at that, I guess. So I'm gonna stick with a seven.
Yeah, I thought I saw him, like I recognized him from something else because and I know Ryan such a very hard movie to recommend because of its graphic nature, but Poor Things, he's in that. And
Is he really?
yeah, I thought I recognized his face from somewhere, but I was like, I can't put it together because I didn't see Craven. And yeah. Um Ryan, do you want to go next or do you care?
Okay.
Okay, I don't think I'll have too much to add on to Clint, so I'll go ahead and just, barrel through mine. Um, it's funny. This version Wolfman, it's like it's decent. It Clint's that his opinion of that scene is very like right on and very legitimate because they it's this struggle between the husband and wife where she's busy, he's busy, things like that, and he's all like, are you happy? And then they have that whole that whole scene, and it's everything. And quite honestly, it didn't bug me as much only because I was like, that scene's kind of boring, I'm not really paying attention to a lot of it, so I'm just kind of like, my brain's going in and out of it. And then later on, then Clint makes me aware, and I was like, yeah, you know what, they didn't really like go back to that their emotional state right there, or like that, like it wasn't consistent. Like the rest of the movie, they don't really visit that mind frame again, and it just was like, then why did we ever do it? Like, and I remember us talking, goes like, let's just not do it that way, let's just completely take out bits of dialogue from that and literally just say that, and it makes way more sense given what happens in the rest of the movie. um yeah, it's the actors are fine. Everybody's good. Like you said, what was her name? Julia Gardner. Yeah, she was solid. I like and Matilda Firth. She was good. Um, a lot of like these movies tend to go. There's a lot of like, oh, it's just for sake of convenience, things happen and everything. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's fine if you don't think about it too much. It's just like whatever. It could have just been there. Um, I will say I do agree with Clint in that the makeup and everything for Wolfman was good. I just don't agree with like, yeah, like he said, uh, like they should have made him like more wolfy, like more wolf characteristic. Like he just had the two who go like this who and everything like that. But I don't know if you guys will agree with me on this, or if you even remember. Did you guys ever watch Hannibal, like the movie Hannibal, and Gary Oldman's character? Like
Yeah.
how he had,
Hmm.
that's what I kept thinking the entire time when he like fully transforms into like the wolf man. I was just like, because he's like very like his like ironic, weirdly he's actually very smooth in a lot of part, and is very bulbousy, and like his skin's like curling kind of in and of itself, and it just was like, and he looks very like sickly, and I just was like, I mean, let's like go full into this, or let's maybe just think, go back to the drawing board just a hair. As far as the makeup itself, it's fine. It's good. It's done real well. And the best part is, like Clint said, is the change in perspectives between like the rest of his family and then him as he's transforming. And like there was one part that I was like, wait, I don't get this. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's because this is happening. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I will remember this movie, but I won't remember its plot very much, or like I won't remember the specifics too much. I'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember watching that. That was fine. Go ahead. It's worth what was it, like 2 hours on the dot, something like that, maybe a little less, maybe 145. Can't remember. It did go by kind of quick. I was like thinking, oh, there's probably another. Oh, it's almost done. Yeah, it's. I was wrestling between 6 and 7, somewhere in that range. I was like, I was like 6.5. I try not to do half scores anymore. It's very it's very easy for me to do that, but I can't. Until Ryan sways me. I'm gonna stay at the 6.5. So it's not a bad movie. It's just if we changed a couple things here and there, I'd say solid 7. Go into it, for an okay time. You shouldn't be too disappointed. I mean, it definitely is a step down from Invisible Man for sure, because that was a solid film. Um, and I will say that the suspense is okay. The suspense is pretty solid. Like I was like, but I didn't get like not even jump scares really that much. I was like expecting that like all around. It's like they were like building it up, building it up, building it up, and then it's just kind of like boop, and then it just kind of goes from there. So it's yeah, it's a decent start to my 2025 list. This is my first 2025 released film, and you could definitely start it off worse. So yeah, I'll say 6.5 for right now until Ryan tells me that I should throw my opinion away.
No, you shouldn't.
But Ryan, give us some clarity here.
Okay, so I am often, you guys know me, I am often a sucker for franchisey things that I really like. And the entire Universal Monster series of every adaptation ever is typically something I really enjoy, unless it's something like I Frankenstein. Um, Invisible Man was my favorite movie of 2020. I think that's probably correct. I can't think of anything else that I like more. And I really like the 41 Wolfman. I think before this I said 54, so I'm correcting that for my own sake, for you guys. But the 1941 Wolfman, I think is really good. And I even like the 2010 Benicio del Toro Wolfman. I think it kind of rocks. Critics hate that movie, and I'm not 100% sure why. I think it's great. So I'm like all for a different take on it, and I'll try not to compare it too much, but you guys covered, I think, all of the technicality that I could cover. So I'm actually going to do the comparison for most of this. So I like how the original kind of breaks down and focuses on the relationship between, um, goodness gracious, I swear I'm a nerd, Talbot, and his dad to a point. And I think that's really interesting. And the second one follows in that path pretty well, or the 2010 remake follows in that path pretty well. To I think maybe too much of a degree, but I still really enjoy the take on it. Um, so maybe it's because of those movies that I thought this movie changing its focus was a bit weird, because The Invisible Man, which is really good, the original Invisible Man, mad scientist, and this one was like, okay, let's do an update. We can't just do mad scientist. That's not interesting. And no offense to the original, but it's not what we're looking for now. It's like, guy goes crazy and derails a train. Okay. So let's, inject some themes in it. And I really love the themes in Invisible Man. It's like we're going to deal with like trauma and domestic abuse and stalking and, gaslighting, so to speak. It's just a whole lot of stuff happening in that movie. And this one's like, okay, well, what if we tackle like generational trauma? And I was like, yeah, that's a good way to deal with him and his dad. And early on, I was like, yeah, I'm tracking with this theme. And then I won't spoil things, but there's a couple points in the movie where I was like, yep, I get this. And there's at one point in the movie where they explicitly say the theme of the movie. And I was like, come on, like you were subtle 5 minutes ago. And I get that the context of the movie makes sense to explain it then, but it does not feel like in that moment it felt like a different writer who did the Invisible Man, even though it's still Winnell and I guess it's there's Corbett Tuck. Let's see who Corbett. She worked on the Insidious movies, so she also worked with Winnell. So I'm like, this is still the team that he's worked with. This is the same people, but it's like suddenly you felt like you had to be really on the nose about your themes. Um, so and on top of that, I think the fact that the Charlotte essentially has the character arc, Julia Garner's character, I think is fine. I'm not going to pick a fight about it. I disagree. I actually really like the scene of build up, the kind of drama a little bit early on, but only because it was something that finally established her character, and it was one of the moments in the movie where I thought a lack of things she said actually said more about her than what she was saying. I was like, you know, she seems like complacent and professional enough to be like, yeah, this is fine, but she also was acknowledging that like I need to step up somehow and don't know how to do that. And the movie's like, here's a situation that'll make you step up for sure, you know. And I like that element a lot. And I don't think it'd be quite the same without that build up. That said, but the payoff is exactly what you'd expect. Similarly, elements of the movie that foreshadow, the rule of three. Yep, check. Foreshadowing with a specific plot member where it's like, if you don't see something happen, probably didn't happen. And then it comes
Hmm.
back and you're like, whoa, I've never seen the movie before. And I felt really bummed because I really enjoyed a lot of this movie. I love the stuff that's perspective. There's maybe it's the D&D part of me or the part of me that likes the Wolfman movies. But there's the scene, it's in the trailer, so I don't feel too bad spoiling it, where it basically pans from his shoulder to her shoulder, but you're switching vision and the whole lighting in the room changes and you're basically shifting into dark vision or you know and it's like you're like what's going and I think Alex pointed out a different moment, but I totally know which moment you meant too, where you're like, oh, but those moments were kind of few and far between for me.
Yeah.
And even when they were there, they didn't really carry the fact that I think it was not a well-paced movie. It didn't really have a whole lot of interesting things to say, and it didn't really have a whole lot of surprises. I attribute this to missing a Wolf Wild moments. Danny Elfman put that on the score in the second one, but in the 2010 one. But both the 41 film and the 2010 film have a moment where he becomes the Wolfman and just goes nuts, and people die, and it's out of control. And you're like, oh, you were the protagonist 10 minutes ago. And it's great because it's carnage and chaos. And this really lacked that. It felt very isolated. It felt very limited. And I'm not saying it needed that. This is trying to be a grounded thing. I even appreciate like the howl was great and the look. When especially was there's a scene where he's in a car, and I was like, there's the look. But it's like it's just missing things. There's just things that it doesn't have. Similarly, and this maybe go back to my mustache argument. Yeah, what a way! Like take the Wolfman and take Mange and you combine it with a human. I think he looks perfect. I don't like it. Like he looks exactly the way he wanted. Completely grounded for sure. But if your movie is going to lack the interesting things, and then you're taking away a very interesting design, and I get it, and I feel bad because I I'm giving it a six because it's trying so hard to do different things, and it's not in a position that the Invisible Man was in. Invisible Man had Hollow Man and the Invisible Man. And Hollow Man sucked. The Invisible Man kind of had an easy going there, unfortunately, to say. I mean, not that it was not to put it down. I think it's an amazing movie. This movie has 80 years of werewolf movies to separate itself from. And it tries and it succeeds, I think, in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, it's not as interesting as several other of those movies that came out then. And I'm like, maybe some of the typical things that have stuck in all of those movies, there's a reason for it. Um, so yeah, it's a solid six for me. I enjoyed it okay. I, you know, I like the poster design. I will own the movie because I have all of the monster movies, you know.
Hmm.
But I listened to the score from Benjamin Wallfish, who did Invisible Man, and I really like the score from Invisible Man. And there's some moments in the movie. There's a particular scene of tension, trying not to spoil things, happening in a house, and the score is just kind of going dun dun dun. I was like, I'm into this. But overall, there's not enough for the composer to work with.
Right.
It's like he's kind of feeling we're kind of feeling it with him. Where I'm like, yeah, transformation's real bad. Wow, yeah, he's walking around the house now, but he looks at things weird. You know, it's all right.
Hmm.
So I feel like I was
Um,
really negative on it. I didn't mean to be.
no,
I
well,
enjoyed
here's the
it.
thing. Let Can we at this point let's go ahead and just mark that we're
Spoilers.
going to talk about the spoiler.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, spoilers. All right. So, um, the whole his dad was
Yeah, wow. I would have never predicted that a character who
yeah,
died
yeah,
off
yeah,
screen and was presumed
yeah.
missing in a werewolf in the area. Anyway,
Yeah,
but I also get it.
you nailed it in like 5 seconds, Ryan. It's exactly right. It's not exciting. It's not what am I trying to think of? Not unseen. Like we knew that we were going to get that. Like, oh, he has the same tattoo. Yeah, we knew that, man. Totally called it. Um,
We knew that when we
and
almost hit him with the truck.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And then even Clint, when we were like, he talked about we discussed the movie after, literally after watching it. And it's like, Clint, you said something about like, because conveniently the gun is going to be right there at the truck when they go into the woods.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I had a problem with the climax is it was just it wrapped up way too conveniently. Like it was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're running into the woods now. And I'm like, okay, and we're gonna pick
It
up the
needs
gun.
like a bunch of redneck hunters are like, ah, I know that howl, and they all go out looking for him, and he rips through them all. I'm just promoting violence, but still, it
Right.
needs that.
But
Well,
that's
yeah,
what it is supposed to be, Ryan. It's the Wolfman. It's supposed to be carnage. Yeah.
yeah. But like I said, I think that's why I like it started to tick down for me was because it was just like, okay, now we're starting to wrap this up a little too conveniently. Like we didn't like the foreshadowing in this movie is like blaringly like in your face. Like if you haven't seen a movie before of trauma, this is where the trauma is going to come back. And like we're going to go into the woods. We're running into the woods now all of a sudden. And I was like, this is where the movie's going to end. And we're going to find the gun next to the truck that we own that was conveniently hanging on a branch somewhere. And the guy's some body part is going to be there, but the gun's still going to be there. And we're going to shoot this guy and it's going to be over. And that's literally what happened.
Yeah. Similarly, there's a moment now that we can talk about it where like she's explaining it to the daughter, and like at the time, like when they're having the wolf fight, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like his dad passed this disease on to him. And then she's like, yeah, his dad got sick and then he got sick because of him. And I was like, I get it. Like, just cover her eyes and take her out of the room and let us deduce the themes. Don't
Right,
tell us what your movie's about.
There, there was a moment when she's on the what do you call it, the CB radio trying to contact people outside and everything. Like, had she kept going, I would have been like, "This is a dumb little monologue, if you will." Because she's like, "Anybody out there? Please come in. Anybody out there?" And then she's like explaining her entire story as if somebody were listening. But I mean, I guess there could have been somebody, but she stopped it right as or she stopped giving her life story um right at the moment where I was like, okay, you're gonna this is stop this is because it's just a movie. It's so you can tell me what your character's feeling instead of like you know fleshing it out more, show don't tell kind of deal. But it finally it stopped just at the right time where I was like, okay, you didn't you don't get you don't get a penalty on that. Like you stopped her just with enough time on screen. I I was tearing away with like, I don't know if I like this or not, where he, so at one point, well, at several points really, he's, chasing after his own family, and then it's like, I can't, attack you. You're my family. I'm like the the dad that still lives in this body is fighting with the wolf man now that's in this body, and it's just like I don't know if I like it or not, because where he's just like, I'm gonna run and get so close and then like not do anything to you, and then you're gonna get away, and then I'm gonna come right back up to you and still not do anything. You're gonna get away. Maybe it's because we've already been there. I just was like, I'm not into this. Like, have it either be one entire chase scene and then have the one moment where he's struggling the two halves. I don't know. I just
Yeah. I
rinse and repeat
agree.
was not working
Yeah.
for me.
Alex, I agree because there were times, and there's one time in particular in like, was it in the barn where I was like, oh, this is such a terrifying use of darkness. Except that he's standing there and I know he's not going to do anything because this is the wife and daughter and the movie will be over. It's like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
you know,
That's when I know that's when I felt it the most. I was just like, he's not doing anything. If this were one continuous scene where he doesn't catch up to him until like towards the end, then let's have that moment. Like, don't keep doing it over and over and over. Just that was maybe that's what I was like. If you just do it once, then it's fine. Don't do it a billion times. And then, um, the best part of this movie is, and we've glossed into it, is the change in perspectives. Like his wife's talking to him and he can't understand, but then he switches it around so where he is very clear to you as the audience, and then they're muffled. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's interesting. And then like when he's actually in the woods where he's like seeing infrared or something, where he can see the wilderness super clear and super like I can see each individual tree and I can see the negative space and all this stuff. I was like, okay, that's cool, because then when it's flipped back, you're like, oh man, how does he totally see anywhere? And it's just like that's probably the coolest aspect as far as the
yeah,
filmmaking itself. So the story, yeah, it's like Ryan said, it's got so much to compare to, and it has really didn't have much of a fighting chance, but it did, and that's where its downfall is. So I think Ryan's convinced me. I'm going to join him down there in Sixville. I'm going to a six. So I think he's made pretty good arguments. Again, not a bad, terrible way to start 2025. It's going to be just kind of middle of the road for me. This is my most mid movies of 25.
I had one big nitpick that I just remembered, and I always say I try not to nitpick, but like he worked so hard on the front door, and then they're like, let's go out the kitchen door. And I'm like, you didn't think to like nail the kitchen door shut? You worked so hard on the front door, bro.
Maybe
Yeah.
some sort of escape.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, let's wrap this up, okay? Because like I agree with both of you that like I'm sticking with my seven just because
It's not
I
bad.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is literally one of those movies that it's like we can nitpick at, but it really isn't a bad watch. It's just a little, like you said,
Sure.
it's a lot of nitpicky stuff, and to your point, Ryan, I think because you have a laundry list of good like werewolf movies, American Werewolf in Paris or in London, Wolfman in 2010, and like even the Underworld movies. There's different types of
Yeah.
werewolf movies that are a little bit better. But
Dog soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is another one, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but it is getting into nitpicking where we're just gonna like nitpick this down to like a four, but it is a decent
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
It's not Haunted Pool, so there's that.
True. True. Yeah.
Um,
It has things to say. It tries.
it tries. It does. Um, okay, so next week is going to be Flight Plan, right? Flight
Flight
Plan
risk.
with Flight Risk. Uh, it's
I
January,
think
people. Like I don't
I
even
think
know.
I was putting the posters downstairs for it, and like every poster was like flight path, or like flight chance. And it was just like nobody got the word right for some reason today.
Um,
Con
yay,
Air with
Mark.
Mark Wahlberg in a ball cap.
That's
Sorry, you
right.
were about to say Mark Wahlberg.
It was. But it's fine. He's balding, apparently. Who knew? Um, and there is going to be a poll on our Facebook page on what classic, what deems it to be a classic, what time period is actually going to be deemed as classic, because we have brought back Alex's Classic Corners, and we are going to force Alex to watch Con Air due to flight risk, flight plan.
What a way to step back into that kind of segment, and isn't it?
Your
Just to watch.
fault. It's your fault. You still haven't watched like some old movies that we keep telling you to watch. You're just now getting to Paddington. This is punishment.
This is
Yes,
punishment. And that's when I
yes.
like absolutely love it. No, I won't love it. No,
Con
I don't.
Air? Probably.
Yeah, no. Um, yeah, so I that's okay. It's streaming on Disney Plus, weirdly enough. So that's the way I can watch it.
Okay. You guys have anything else though?
Nope.
All right. Well then, please give us a like and a comment and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and we will see you guys next week.